Today's Q&A session is Professor Haroon Bhorat, the Director of the Development Policy Research Unit at UCT and a member of President Ramaphosa's Presidential Economic Advisory Council. Professor, thank you for your time today.
Great. Thanks, Carl. Happy to be here.
Okay, let's jump in. My first question is from Onrich, and he says, there's been a lot of noise around the budget, with the DA and the EFF and MK party not supporting it. How is this going to play out?
So I think the first thing to remember, Carl, is that with 30 years of democracy, we've never been here before. So in other words, the background to the budget is we've always had the budget speech from the minister, and we sign off and we all analyze the budget and off we go. But actually what happened and happened every single year since 94 is a process of the various bills associated with implementing the budget being passed through Parliament. Now, why was that never a focus? Because the ANC had a majority. So in other words, it was a fait accompli that when the minister gave his budget speech, all those elements of the budget speech and the medium-term expenditure framework and the estimates of expenditure and the division of revenue, all of that will be passed through the House of Assembly and so on. Now, of course, the ANC doesn't have a majority. And for just to be clear, for each of these bills that need to be passed through, all that is required is a simple majority, which the ANC doesn't have, never mind a 2/3 majority. So where to from here is that the ANC, the Minister of Finance needs to ensure that the fiscal framework is passed by Parliament with a 50% majority within 16 days. And that's that early April kind of deadline that everybody's looking to. What is the fiscal framework? Well, it covers a whole range of factors, including the revenue projections, the expenditure ceilings, economic growth assumptions. So in fact, it's the framework around which all the budget figures are derived. You can imagine what that means, that inevitably there's going to be contestation in the first 16 days around the very fiscal framework. There are limits to what can be sort of stress test and changed, but in essence from there, and as per Unrich's question, that means that whether it's the DA, the EFF and the MK party, all are going to go for this fiscal framework and elements of it in the first 16 days. Let's assume by hook or by crook we get through that. You then have a series of threshold points, July and November specifically, where the different bills, the appropriation bill, the division of revenue bill, and the tax bills all can be passed through following the fiscal framework being adopted. Now, if this sounds like an incredibly laborious, long process, that's what it's going to be. My sense is that we're going to be at this between now and November, unless a deal is struck before the 16 days are up between the ANC and the DA to get the majority, and then I think we flow through quite quickly. Just a very quick point on VAT, because it will come up, is that because the minister announced VAT, it is law. So for companies thinking about, well, do we wait and see on VAT? No, VAT is now law for the first year, and it can, though, be repealed in November, right, in terms of the second year, which means that the first year is no longer valid. Creates an unbelievably complex process of how do you then pay VAT back to people who have already paid the 0.5% increase. Never been there before. So a lot of...
I'll happily claim back my VAT, thank you.
Exactly. So a lot of unclear pathways from the fiscal framework being adopted, but I think it's going to be interesting if nothing else.